together. And God, I'm always just so encouraged when I see so many incredible leaders, just like the ones who are on this call right now. I think about the incredible nonprofit and kingdom work that is represented on this call. And God, you are working through these organizations to meet needs, have the gospel shared, and just you're drawing people close to your side through all these groups. And we're so grateful for that. Lord, we thank you for inviting us to partner with you in just life-changing ministry. Father, I just pray for Sandy today. I just pray that you would speak through her and just thank you for her expertise and wisdom. And Lord, we just commit this time to you. Pray that you would speak to all of us individually and just bless it and make it special. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Sandy, take it away.
Right. All right. Hey, everybody. I am so glad to be here with you. We're going to have a good time this afternoon, and I want to get you started thinking about what you need to do now to raise money during the holidays. Now, I know that it can seem like, oh gosh, the holidays are so far away. It's August. Kids haven't gone back to school yet. But here's the truth. We've got to put some things in place now if we want to see big results during the holidays. We have to plant some seeds. We've got to do some tending and nurturing if we want to harvest big fruit during the time of year when everybody is most generous. So that's what we're talking about. Specifically, you are in the right place if you need to raise big bucks during the holidays to make budget. I know for really small organizations, that is the time of year when waves of funding can come in. If we look statistically, fourth quarter of the year is the time um, fourth quarter is the time when more money is given to nonprofits than any other time of the year. All right, so if you're not sure what you need to do, no worries. I'm going to tell you a few very specific things that you can do right now to get donors warmed up and ready. And if you want some ninja tips to blow past your goals, I'm all about it. I love sharing good tips. I found fundraising a bit hard as I was learning, and I cannot stand to see anybody struggle because it just doesn't have to be. So I'm going to give you the benefit of all my struggles so you can shortcut the process. How does that sound? That sound good? Give me a thumbs up if you got your video on. Awesome. Perfect. Well, here's a little bit more about me. I am Sandy Rees. I'm the head of Get Fully Funded. I am a fundraising nerd. I've been raising money since the late 90s. I have all the gray hair to prove it at this point. I've learned a lot. Animal lover, cat mama. She left. So I'm hoping that the cat leaves me alone. Otherwise, you will see her in a little while. I do know every dog in my neighborhood because that's just how I roll. So you see a picture of me and Praline. It was Praline's sister that's most likely to come through here. But here's the story that I want to start with. When I got into fundraising in the late 90s, it was probably the same way that many of you have gotten into fundraising. I don't think any of us grow up saying, I want to be a fundraiser. No, we fall into it because we have a heart for service and a heart for ministry. And then one day we realize, oh, this takes money to do good work, right? That's what happened to me. I was invited to join the board of the local rescue mission, which I did, and I had no clue what I was doing. This was probably 1997. And then a year later, they had a position that came open in their resource development office, and I said, well, I could do that. So I resigned from the board, and I quit my job, and I took that job. And I was so clear that I was doing the work that I was on this planet to do. How many of you can relate? Like, you know that you have a calling and you're real clear about what it is. Yeah, that was me with let me raise money, which was so bizarre because I never saw this coming. I never thought this was what was going to happen. So I was at the rescue mission for a year, then I went to the food bank, and about the second or third year that I was at the food bank, we started raising money hand over fist. Now, in this picture on the slide, you see this big tub? I would get a tub like that full of checks every day from the middle of October to about the middle of January. Every day. It was crazy town, but it was the most fun. It took 3 of us all day long just to open the mail and get everything entered into the software and get the checks ready to go to the bank. It was so much fun. That's a fun that I really want for everybody. So I just want you to know I have been in that place of, I don't know how to do this, and I figured it out. So what I want to share with you today is some of what I learned the hard way. Now, fast forward to about 2005, that's when I realized that I had become unemployable. It does not work out real well for me to work for somebody else. So I started Get Fully Funded. Here we are 21 years later. I'm starting to think this is going to work out, you know? Now, all jokes aside, I love that I get to wake up every day and help people like you raise money for amazing causes. I'm very fortunate that, and I want this for everybody as well, to get to do work that warms your heart and sets your soul on fire. That's what I get to do. So I do this all the time. I'm actually going to give this same webinar in a couple hours for a different group. This is what I do, and I love doing it. All right, let's go back to holidays last year. Here's some of the messages that I saw from some of our clients and students. Things like, we reached our goal early, now what do we do? Or, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did it. We've never raised that much money during the holidays before. If that's not your experience, I want that to be your experience because it's fun. It's fun when you have a plan and you put it in place and everything just goes according to plan and you raise big bucks, because then you can go into the new year knowing that you have cash in the bank and you can pay for the things that you need to pay for. Money is not everything, but money solves a lot of problems when you're running a nonprofit, right? Yeah, money pays for supplies, money pays for rent for facilities, it pays for staff to actually do things. And again, because we know that Q4 is the most generous of the year, we want to leverage that. We want to take advantage of that. All right, here's the truth that we operate from here at Get Fully Funded. I should have told you, by the way, I started Get Fully Funded all by myself. There are 17 of us now on our team, which just blows me away. So when I say we, it's all the team. Here, we operate from this belief, and that is when you raise more money, you can change more lives. Being in the nonprofit world, whether you're doing ministry, you're working with a church, you're working with a nonprofit, whatever it is, your organization is not here to be mediocre. You are here to make a difference. Let that sink in. You are not here to do same old, same old. You're not here for status quo. You are here to change lives, to make a huge difference. And whether you serve people, whether you serve animals, whether you are protecting the environment, doesn't matter. You're here to make a difference. So for some organizations, that means you may have to think about things a little differently. So I'm going to challenge you. Look at this. We're like 14 minutes in. Let me drop this first nugget. If you have been just doing same old, I want you to stop for a minute and think about why your organization exists, what your mission is, and how you can deliver that mission a little more fully, a little more robustly, if that's a word. We're here to make a difference, and goodness knows the world needs all of us right now. Now, here's some common problems that especially small nonprofits run across during the holidays. Number one is assuming that people will give just because it's the holidays. It is a time of year when people tend to think about others, but nobody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I feel like giving some money away today. Wonder what nonprofit I can give to. Nobody does that. You have to stay top of mind for them so that they remember your organization. We're going to talk about that a lot today, and how you stay top of mind. You don't want to wait till the last minute. Now, I'll be a little vulnerable here. I used to be a last minute Lucy. I had too much on my plate. I would say yes to everything, and I was always at the last minute trying to get things done. Now, I had a certain amount of pride around that because I'm like, oh, I do my best work when I'm working under pressure. Well, I figured out probably about 15 or 20 years ago that that really wasn't true. Well, what I started to notice is that I was producing work that had typos in it because I was doing my work at the last minute. And I also started to notice that I wasn't giving myself enough time to think and be strategic. So if you're one of those that you like to wait until the last minute to decide what to do, maybe you wait till the day before Giving Tuesday and you're like, yeah, we should do Giving Tuesday, and you throw something together, you're just not going to get the results you're looking for. Fantastic results come from planning and strategy. So if you want fantastic results, you have to give yourself time to think. You want to give yourself time to plan. It's all just going to work out better on that, trust me. Over asking is a very common problem. Asking frequently during the holidays is okay as long as you balance it so that the donor has a good experience. I want to talk a little more about that in a minute. And I also see a lot of bad asks, and it basically feels like begging. If it feels like begging to you when you do it, it probably feels like begging to your donors. It's not going to work well. So how do you make a better ask? I'm going to show you today. I've got some samples that I want to show you. So if you have been experiencing any of those common problems, it's okay. It's okay, no judgment. But what I want to do is show you some better ways today. Who can get on board with that? Yeah, better ways. That's why we're here. Okay. Here's the truth. Just to give you a little moment of let's do a reality check. Here we are. It's early August, which I don't know about you, but I'm really sure Easter was like week before last. I do not know how it is August already. Fundraising season starts early September. So fundraising season is when we have our biggest opportunities to raise money, and the opportunities just get hotter the closer we get to the end of the year. So if you see, prime time is November and December, especially here in the US. So just reality check. It is really not that far away to the holidays. If you look, September 1 is right around the corner. We have a big event coming up in a couple of weeks, and already internally we're like, okay, that's going to have to wait till September. This is going to have to wait. And that blows me away too, that it's almost September. By the time we blink twice, we're going to be planning for Thanksgiving because it just moves so fast. So it is time now for us to be thinking about what we're going to do the last 4 months of the year. All right, here's a good diversion. Who likes chocolate cake? Anybody besides me like chocolate cake? Yeah, some of you are raising your hand. You are, yeah. It's okay. Carla and our kindred spirits are liking that chocolate cake. I would love to have some of that chocolate cake that I see on the screen, but I have a problem. I don't have any chocolate cake in my house right now. And frankly, I don't know any place in town I can go to get one that looks quite that good. So I gotta do something first. I can want that cake, but wanting it and having it in the same moment don't necessarily happen. Okay? So what happens before I can eat that cake? Well, I'm going to have to decide on a recipe. I'm either going to have to make it from scratch or I'm going to have to use a box. And then I need to decide when am I going to do that, because I'm going to have to run out to the store. I might have time to do that today. I might have to wait till tomorrow or Saturday. So I got to shop for the ingredients, come home, mix up the cake, put it in the oven, pull it out, let it cool. Then I can ice it and grab a fork. So I've got some steps I've got to take before I can eat that cake. And I bet that makes sense to everybody, right? So the wanting the cake and the being able to have the cake are not necessarily going to happen in the same moment. Now, if I had that cake in my house, you better know I'd be eating some of it today, because I like some good chocolate cake. But right now, I don't have it. And that's kind of where we are with fundraising. We want big results during the last few months of the year, but wanting it and having it are not necessarily going to happen at the same time. We've got some steps we've got to take, just like with the chocolate cake. So we got to do some things to get ready, to get our donors ready, to make sure that the magic is going to happen when we get closer and closer to year end. All right, so just a couple of things on fundraising. Fundraising is not about begging. It is about a donor-focused relationship. It's about a partnership with people who want to see you win. They want to see your organization be successful in fulfilling your mission. I was on a call this morning with my coach, and he was talking about some of the charities that he gives to. And he said he lives outside Charlotte, and he used to go and help feed the homeless at the rescue mission there. And he said he figured out after a while that that was actually not the best use of his time, that it was a better use of his time to run his business and make money that he could then give to the rescue mission for them to do the good work. And I thought that is fantastic, that he understands how his money is making a difference. The giving of that money is actually very transformational for him. It makes him feel great. It fulfills a personal philanthropic desire. So we have to understand that donors are not ATMs. They're not checkbooks. They're our partners in doing the good work that our organization does. When we stay focused on our donors, magic starts to happen, because the relationship is worth so much more than just the donation. If we get a little too focused, if we laser in a little too much on the $50 gift that somebody made last week or the $100 gift that they made last month, and we forget that there's a person behind that gift, we might get more money, we might not. If we understand that the relationship with that donor is going to produce multiple gifts over the lifetime of that donor, now we get why we have to pay attention to the relationship. Now we understand why communication is so important. All right, think about it this way. Let's imagine that for every donor you have a relationship account, and it's represented by this little green piggy bank. Every time you make the donor feel good, you warm their heart with a story, you show them a video of how your organization is changing lives, it makes them feel good. It's adding a deposit into that account. So every time you make them feel good, that's a deposit. Every time you ask for something, whether you're asking for money, buy a ticket to our event, like us on Facebook, come volunteer, shop at our thrift store, any of those, that's a withdrawal. So anytime you ask, you're withdrawing from that account. Now, you don't have to be an accountant to understand if you ask more than you are giving the warm fuzzies, that account is going to go to zero and it's going to close. If you've ever had donors that you've felt like they just kind of drifted away, this is what's happened. You've made more withdrawals than deposits, and they disconnected from the relationship. You lost them. Okay? So we have to make more deposits than withdrawals. Hold that thought for just a second because I want to show you this as well. Now, basic fundraising 101, we look at what we call the fundraising cycle. A lot of people think fundraising is about asking, but there's more to it than that. Asking is part of it, but we have to thank donors. Why? Because our mamas taught us that was the right thing to do. If your mama didn't teach you that, then I'm here to tell you it's the right thing to do. And then we have to provide updates because donors want to know what happened. They want to know what happened when they gave you money. Did you use it the way you told them you were going to? Did you use it to change lives? And you see this as a circle. So if the circle is broken, if you don't thank people well and you don't provide an update, that circle breaks and it may not repeat. It might repeat one more time, but it's not going to repeat often. So now let's overlay these two ideas of the relationship account with the fundraising circle. We ask for money, people give money, and then we have to thank them really well. When we thank them well, we're making a deposit into that relationship account. What does thanking well look like? It's not the default language on whatever tool you're using. It's warm, it's sincere, it feels personal. It includes a story. It makes people feel good. Then later when you provide an update, which by the way could look like a newsletter or a random email story or a video that you're sharing on social media, those updates with no ask, those also make people feel good. Again, you're making a deposit. So check that. Your ask is a withdrawal, and then we've got deposit, deposit. Is that account going to close? Not if we do this. If we're making people feel good, they're going to stick around and keep giving. All right. What does that have to do with year-end fundraising? This actually applies all year long. And what I want you to get is if you have not been doing a great job of communicating with donors and making them feel good so far this year, it is okay. One of the reasons that we start in August is so you can use August and September and maybe part of October to warm people up. You can do some thanking. You've got time to do some updates. You've got time to tell some good stories and get people ready for your first ask of the fall season. Angie asked a great question. Does a donate button with your update count as an ask? Yes, it does. Even though it might be at the bottom, it might be kind of small, you want to have some communications with your donors that have no asks. It just needs to be a feel good. And I've got so many examples I can show you. I've got clients who are nailing this, telling stories in just a couple of tiny little paragraphs and basically saying at the bottom, all of this happens because of your generosity. Thank you for caring. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. We're using hero language now, which makes a donor feel like a hero. All right.
Hey, Sandy.
Again, right now what we want to do is a whole lot of the thanking and updating because it makes people feel good. So this is a great time for you to think about the quality of the stories that you're telling and how you're using photos and video. Now, regardless of what your organization does or where you're located, there are ways to use photos and video. So if you're based here but your organization works overseas, you still can get photos and video. If you work with like a children's advocacy center where privacy is an issue, you still can tell stories and use video. It just doesn't necessarily have to be of the kids. I'll give you an example. We've got a children's advocacy center that we work with. They're just outside St. Louis. They have a therapy dog that is part of their organization. Well, they do a lot of video and tell a lot of stories from Ellie's point of view.
Mhm.
You can put a GoPro on this dog and she kind of goes through and she'll say, like, hey, this is where the kids and their caregivers come in when they come in. And then we see this playroom and it looks awesome. So that's how they deal with privacy issues all the stories come from Ellie, the dog.
Mhm.
And everybody loves it. All their supporters are eating it up. Fork and spoon.
Hey, Sandy, can you hear me
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I just had a quick comment on something that you said a couple minutes ago. Yeah, I think it's really helpful sometimes too, right? When we put ourselves in the place of the donors and the givers and we think about how we like to be communicated with, right?
Yes.
If somebody is updating us or sharing a story of impact or letting us know how money is being stewarded and used in incredible ways, but then it always comes back to another ask, right? I think we wouldn't feel great about that, right? As givers ourselves. And so, how do we like to be communicated with? How do we like to be just sort of valued in the process? So, I think putting ourselves in that spot can be helpful. But I love what you said there. I mean, so many organizations are asking people for money and they've never reported on the impact of the last gifts that were given and they've never thanked people for those gifts. So love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for jumping in and putting that fine point on it. Here's the other thing that I want to share. We work with a lot of really small organizations and a lot of one person shops. So if this is you, if it like you're the only one in your organization, I know where you are. This part of building the relationship with thanking and updating, it does not have to be hard. It does not have to be hard. It can be very simple. It could be a quick little email that says, this little thing happened today and it warmed my heart and I thought it would warm yours too. Boom, you send it out. Just very simple. Um, I've got a couple of organizations that work in the animal welfare world, and they're this one over in Asheville, North Carolina. She is brilliant at like 4 sentence emails with a picture or a video of a kitten, and oh, every time I see it, it just warms my heart. Now, if you're thinking, well, I don't have anything that cool, what do you have? Because you've got something. Your organization exists to make a difference, so what do you have? If you get stuck on that, you reach out and let me know. I can help you figure it out. That sometimes is really hard to see. What the sexiness of your organization, like what's the juiciest thing your organization does. Sometimes that's hard to see when you're right in the middle of it. All right, we doing okay so far? All right, perfect. We're going to get into 3 specific strategies that I want to give you. This is practical, tactical. I want to give you some very specific things that you can do between now and whenever your first ask is in the fall that are going to help you raise more money. The very first one is double down on communication. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean send more emails. I don't want you to double down on the quantity. I want you to double down on the quality. Okay? So what I want you to do is take a look at what you normally send to donors. Now, if you have been very hit or miss, I want you to be very consistent. Consistency will win the day when it comes to communications. Be very consistent. What does that mean? I have one organization I work with. Their newsletter goes out every second Wednesday of the month. Second Wednesday of the month, they do not miss. And guess what? They now have donors so well trained that people are hitting reply and they're engaging in conversation, or they're seeing that newsletter and they're finding their way over to the website to make a donation without an ask, because the quality of that newsletter is so good. Now, most nonprofit newsletters are crap. They're terrible. And I go ahead and laugh. Here's why. Here's why they're so bad. Because they're done at the last minute just so we can check the block and say we got that done. Here's what we do. We're like, okay, I have to do this newsletter. We hired a new janitor. Let me put that in. We won organization of the day at the Chick-fil-A. Let me put that. And so we throw crap in there that donors don't care about. So we have to put ourselves in the donor's shoes and say, well, if I'm going to read this newsletter, what do I care about? All right, here's a big hint. They want to know how their donation has made a difference. They want to know a story. So always, always start with a story, very short story. You can do an update on a past story that you've shared. You can do a real quick save the date. So if you have an open house coming up, a volunteer orientation, a program-related event, you can do a real quick save the date. You can do a thanks to you section. So if you've had like a Boy Scout who did an Eagle Scout project for you, or somebody who collected donations for you on their birthday, or anything like that, those are just little glimmers that you can include in your newsletter that make people feel good. So you have to really be strategic. Part of doubling down on communication is lots and lots of non-asks and warm touches. What is a warm touch? It's anything that's going to make people feel super awesome about your organization. The bottom line here is just you want to make them smile. If you're going to send them an email, if you're going to interrupt their day and try to compete for their attention, boy, it better be worthwhile. So I want you to double down on the quality of your communication. So again, more consistent, warm communications, probably more stories, more photos, more video, more invitations to connect. So that could be as simple as, hey, if you ever have questions or you'd like a tour, email me. I've shared that suggestion so many times, and I always get somebody who goes, oh, we couldn't possibly handle that many people wanting a tour. But the truth is, if you email 1,000 people and you say, if you'd like a tour or if you have questions, reach out to me, you might get one or two out of 1,000. You're not going to be inundated. But what happens is your invitation to connect is going to make people feel good. It immediately builds trust because it shows that you're open. And that's the most important thing. All right, ninja ideas, you ready? Mid-year updates. Now is the perfect time to go back and look at what happened January through the 1st of July. You can pull out 2 or 3 real key numbers and you can create what we call a mid-year update report. And that can either be sent out by email or on postcards. I actually have several of these right here. This is one of our clients in Utah, and my team actually created this for them. It's a really cute little infographic that just shows donors what their organization did. There's a little quick photo on the other side. These are super cheap and easy to produce. You can create this in Canva. That's where we made this one. Upload it to Vistaprint, give them your database and your credit card number. Boom, it's done, it's gone. Now, why in the world would you do a print piece? Because you may have donors that are not paying attention to their email. You may have donors that you don't have an email for. Doing cross-channel promotion is a super good idea. Brianna is here. She would back me up on that. That you don't want to just send all your communications via email. Email and strategically chosen print pieces can be a fantastic combo. Thank you video can be super powerful, and our phones make it so easy these days. It does not have to be polished. It literally could be a video of you saying, hey, this is Sandy. I just wanted to say thank you. We've had a tremendous first half of the year. Here's 3 of my favorite things that happened. All of this happened because you have been giving. Thank you for your support. It can be that easy. It's super easy to do. You might actually also want to make some thank you calls to some of your best donors. Phone calls can be so powerful that it's a little tricky because most of us don't answer the phone anymore if we don't recognize the number, right? But if you can get a donor on the phone, you're probably going to have a great conversation. Now, here's the really fun thing. If you get somebody on the phone, you want to listen for them to say, oh, that's awesome. How can I help? Or is there anything you need? Those people are prime to ask for matching money for Fall Appeal or Giving Tuesday or year-end campaigns. And I can tell you story after story of clients who do this. At this point, I've got one organization that they've been doing this pretty consistently for the past probably 3 or 4 years. And more donors will answer the phone every year. And they usually, in those short phone calls, they come up with all the matching money they need. Because what happens is, this call is not meant to be an ask, but you get on the phone, you say, hey, I just want to check in with you and give you an update. And the donors initiate the conversation. Donors will say, what do you need? If they open the door, go for it and say, well, you know, we're going to raise money for X, Y, or Z for Giving Tuesday. We're going to be looking for matching gifts. Would that be of interest to you? Now you're off to the races with that. Laura, good question. Her nonprofit starts in August. Since it's a part of an after school program, how do we send an update on the new year? I would just send an update on what happened last school year, because at this point you've got all your numbers from last year, and this would be a really good time to say, hey, here's the impact that we had last year. We're excited about what's going to happen this year. It gives you a really good time just to sort of touch base in between the school years. Always look at what you can do. So, side note, ninja tip, I'm going to give you some ideas that your first thought is going to be, how do we do that? Like, that, I'm not sure that would work for us. There may be some ideas that I give you that don't work for you, but what I want you to do is look at it and be creative and say, how could we make that work for us? Or how could we do something similar? Because there's usually a way to figure it out. Angie, yes. Do you have some suggestions? Let me hang on. I want to get through all the content, and I'm looking at the clock. I didn't tell you, Jonathan, both of my grandfathers were preachers. I can do this all day. Oh my goodness, y'all. All right, let me show a couple more examples. So this is a mid-year update postcard from Unity Farm Sanctuary, and you can see how just stinking cute it is. Easy peasy to create that in Canva and send it out. They put a QR code on it so that people could go look and get even more information if they're interested. Now you see on this particular one, there's no place to actually mail it. This went into a card or into an envelope. So this was like a postcard, but it went in an envelope. Here's another one. This one was used digitally. So this went in an email and on social media. This is from Brazos Sport Cares. It's a food pantry in South Texas. They do amazing work. If you want to see an organization that does a great job with donor communications, get on their website and make like a $5 or $10 donation, and then just watch what they do. Watch the kinds of information that they share with donors. Look at what their newsletter looks like. They're doing a great job. We just helped them raise money and build a new building. That was fun. Okay, so strategy number 1 is double down on communication. Here's the next thing I want you to do. If you want to raise the most money you can during the holidays, I want you to strategically map it out. So we're not going to shoot from the hip. We're not going to make this up as we go. Some of us, or I used to be real proud that I could do that. I'm no longer proud of that. I am now proud when I can map everything out, because when I have this, even if all I do is take a calendar and I put stuff on the calendar, I tend to have less last minute chaos. You know what I'm talking about, that last minute chaos of, oh my gosh, I got to get this appeal out the door. Oh my gosh, we're almost at the end of the year and I haven't raised enough money yet. Ah! That's when we run around with our hair on fire. And that's not fun. And what winds up happening is you wind up with sleepless nights. You wind up staying up too late. Your family doesn't like it because they don't get to see you. You're not being fully present during the holidays with friends and family. When you plan this out, a lot of that just is non-existent. So here's what I want you to do. You can literally take a calendar from September through December, and I want you to think about how many times do you normally ask in those 4 months. And then I want you to put those on the calendar. So if you say, well, we normally do an appeal in September, we send out a fundraising letter in September, and then Giving Tuesday is December 1st, and that's usually what we do. That's fine. That's fine. If you're curious, I'll tell you, here's the 3 asks that I would recommend you make. The first one is some kind of fundraising letter or appeal, and I would do it late September to maybe late October. I would try to get like early to mid-October if I could. Why? Because that tends to be the time that we're really starting to think about holidays coming up. Here in East Tennessee, where I am, that's about the time of year that the weather really starts to change. And the change of the weather, it somehow signals, oh, Thanksgiving is coming. Oh, we got to figure out whose house are we going to this year. And we start this sort of change of thinking about holidays coming up. We start to get into the holiday. We're enjoying our pumpkin latte, our pumpkin spice latte. We're enjoying thinking about holidays, and that's when the generosity gene kicks in. Okay? So, fall appeal, early to mid-October, I would do Giving Tuesday. That's December 1st this year. Now there's a nice spacing in between there. So you've got time between that fall ask. You've got Thanksgiving, which gives you a great time to do a warm touch video, just a thank you video. We have tons of clients doing that, and they all get amazing results with it. Then if you want to, if you're going to send out a holiday card or something, a Christmas card, do that. Then I would do what we call a last chance campaign, and that happens the week between Christmas and New Year's. Most organizations are doing that. That's a great time with a built-in sense of urgency to tell people, hey, this is your last few days to give for 2026. Okay? So you take this calendar, think about how many asks you're going to make, you get these on the calendar, and then what I want you to do is look at what you're doing when you're not asking. So what happens in between those asks? So remember, nobody likes the person that all they do is ask whenever you hear from them. We're all like so grateful for our phones and caller ID because we don't want to answer the phone when it's that one that they always want something. We don't want to be that way to our donors. So the way we offset that is making them feel good with the really awesome newsletter and the video updates and the stories and all of that. So once you have your calendar and you've got those asks, now you can start to look at when you want to send your newsletter out and what the quality of that's going to be. Do you want to do an additional feel-good email? Do you want to do a feel-good video at Thanksgiving? You can map all of that out. And guess what? When you put all that together, ta-da! There's your year-end plan. Now it's just a matter of implementing it. See, none of this is real hard. Probably a lot of you already knew that. Maybe some of you are doing that. All right, here's another ninja trick that I want to give you. Some of you may be doing more asks than 3 during those last 3 or 4 months of the year, and that's totally fine. My recommendation is use the 3-to-1 ratio. The 3-to-1 ratio says you can ask as often as you want, as long as in between those asks you have 3 really good, heartwarming communications. Those heartwarming communications are what make people feel good, and they will set the stage and prepare somebody to be asked again. Okay? So what we're talking about here is making sure that we're asking in a way that's making people feel good and they want to give, and then we're communicating in a way that's making people feel good. This is what builds the relationship. It's just a matter of shifting our thinking a little bit from, well, we need to hit these people up. No, we don't hit anybody. Fundraising is not a contact sport. We want to make people feel good. This is about their experience. This is about us paying attention to the donor experience and just doing the best that we can to make people feel good. All right, so there's that ninja trick. I build out this calendar. I'm actually going to tell you in a minute how you can get this calendar. I like to color code it because I think it makes it easier. If I mark all my asks in green and then I do all my feel-good communications in pink, then it's real easy for me to see, do I have 3 times as many pink as green? That's pretty easy to see that. You can color code it any way you want. All right, strategy number 3, let's mix it up. You don't want to do the same thing all the time because people can start to tune you out a little bit. Now, we talked already about some online and offline. This can be used to your advantage. So, for example, the food pantry that I showed you their email mid-year update a minute ago, our fall appeal, I say our because I'm their coach, the fall appeal normally has an email version and a print version, and we send the print version first to everybody we have a mailing address for, and then we follow it up about a week later with the email version for everybody we have an email for. So some people are only going to get the print, some people are only going to get the email, some people are going to get both. And what we find when we start really measuring and paying attention that overlap, so the people who get both print and email, we tend to see a lift in the conversion rate of the number of people who are actually making a donation, which is cool. Now, the other thing you can mix up is fundraising and awareness. Fourth quarter can be a really good time to raise awareness, and so you want to think about what kinds of things you can do in October, November, and December to spread the word about what you do. That might look like ratcheting up on your speaking engagements. That might be sending a press release to the media in December and sharing a story that they could run in that week between Christmas and New Year's, which, hint, tends to be a really slow news week. And when you can give them a story that's going to have shelf life, so in other words, it's going to still be very relevant during that week, and they can get that story ready and in the can so that they can go be off during the holidays, you will be their new best friend. Definitely leverage online fundraising. You can do more than you think. especially if you're going to raise money on Facebook or through email. It flows very fast. Facebook flows so fast, you can actually ask a little more often than you think. But you also want to just be real careful about how often you're sharing. So if you're the kind of organization that you post something every day on social media, cool. Ask maybe once a week. That's going to work for you. You might do a $5 Friday, or you might do a wish list Wednesday. Once a week is okay, as long as you're posting other stuff in between those asks and it's feel good stuff. You can remember that, especially on Facebook, you're not going to reach 100% of your audience because Facebook wants you to pay to play. So if you post on Facebook, you might get in front of 15 to 25% of your audience. And then if you post something else later that day or the next day, you're probably going to have a different group that's going to see it. So you can actually post more often than you think. All right, I've got a bonus strategy for you because this is how I roll. Your bonus strategy is when you ask for money, I want you to ask like you mean it. So no vague asks, nothing like, oh, well, please be generous. No, let's ask like we mean it. When you have a very clear ask, it is so much easier for a donor to decide if they want to give. You don't want donors to burn calories trying to figure out what you want them to do. So we're going to ask like we mean it. What does that mean? That means ask for a specific amount. I know that some people are not comfortable with that. We use a technique called core number to come up with a number that you can ask somebody to give that represents something that happens in your organization. You need to be specific so donors know what you mean. If you don't ask for a specific amount, donors don't know how much to give. And when you can tie that amount to the impact that it will make and tell donors how their money is going to make a difference, they're going to be much more likely to start shopping, which is a good thing. I'm going to show you this in just a sec. You want to definitely include a sense of urgency so people have a reason to give now and not wait. Most of us will wait if we have a chance. And we want to be real clear about next steps. So let me show you some examples. This is from Esther Neonatal Kitten Alliance over in Asheville. You're going to be able to read all this in the slides, but I've circled in red what I want to show you. She says, right now, just $11 provides an entire week of nourishments for kittens like Cookie. So she's told us $11 an entire week of nourishment. Perfect. Now I know I can give $11 and I know how that's going to make a difference. You see how easy that is? Now, one of the things I also like is she's got a sense of urgency woven in here. Her button doesn't say give now. It says click here to sponsor a critical need. So just the language that she's using is creating a sense of urgency. Then the sentence underneath here says we can't wait until they get sick. We can't wait until they start to fade. That is also building a sense of urgency. So she's given us a reason to say, holy moly, I got to click that button right now. Now you see how that works? Got more. Rough Haven. This one I showed you a minute ago. It's crisis sheltering for people who are, well, you can see right here in the first paragraph, when someone is hospitalized, fleeing domestic violence, entering treatment, or experiencing housing instability, there are very few systems designed to keep pets and families together. That's where Rough Haven steps in. So boom, right off the bat, they have educated us about what their organization does, how they step in, and what this email came from was helping people understand how the money from their event, they have this really fun event called Birthday Bash, they were educating people about how that money was going to be used and make a difference, which I thought was just beautifully done. Beautifully done. So this email interrupted all the other emails that were like, hey, we're having this event, get your ticket. So now people understood how their ticket was going to make a difference. Now, one reason that, and my team helps them with fundraising, one reason we did this is because we raised the price of the ticket and we wanted to help people understand how their money was going to be used. And it worked. They had record-breaking results this year. Okay, here's another one. This was an email from several years ago, and I think it was so good. And what we have to remember with all the communications, really all year long, but especially at year end, you got to explain why you need help now. What's going to happen if you meet your goal? Will people be helped? Will crisis be averted? And what happens if you don't meet your goal? Will lives fall through the cracks? And that's where you want to lean into that, because that's going to help you with a sense of urgency in your appeals. So this one was from the Asheville Humane Society, gosh, in 21, and I thought it was so good for so many reasons. But right at the top, they have in red letters, last chance. You know, for most of us, we're like, oh crap, last chance for what? We all tend to be responders at the last minute. We sign up for events at the last minute. We make plans at the last minute. Most of us just do this. They had a countdown timer, and you can see it's all at 00 now. But the countdown timer, when I received this, it showed me how much time was left, and it was ticking, ticking, ticking. That generated a sense of urgency immediately. They had this short little paragraph and the donate now button at the bottom. That was the whole email, which I thought was beautifully done. People just don't read a lot these days, so you got to keep everything really short and tight. All right, we've covered a lot of ground. What do you do now? Okay, here's what I want you to do. Go back through your notes. I want you to highlight the big ahas. And then I want you to pick the biggest aha, like the one that you're most excited about, and I want you to block time on your calendar, either tomorrow or next week, to work on it. Because here's what I know. I've been doing this a while. You can come to a webinar like this and go like, oh, that was cool. She was funny. But if you don't implement what you're learning, nothing changes. You have to take action on it. If you want different results, you have to take different action. So it's as easy as pick out a couple of good ideas from today, make time on your calendar to work on them, and then just get started with it. That's how you make change. That's how you make things different. That's how you make this fall and holiday fundraising season the best you've ever had. All right, I have a resource I want to share, and then we're going to open up for some questions. And Angie, I'm going to start with yours. All right, we have an event coming up in a couple of weeks called Inspired Fundraising Retreat. It is a virtual event where we walk you through more detail on what I've just shared. We give you a calendar so that you can plan out and nail your ask. I'm going to show you even more examples of good asks during the holidays. We're going to talk about how to thank people so well that they share what you send. And I want to help you figure out how to plan all this in advance so you can actually take time off for the holidays guilt-free. I'm sure everybody's saying amen and hallelujah, please. We have lots of people that have been through Inspired Fundraising Retreat. They've learned about their core number. They've learned how to make an ask like they mean it. They have learned how to get matching money. So I've taken a couple of screenshots here for you. On the left, Boston got her first ever Giving Tuesday match, which helps set her up for big success with her organization. Kathy Halamka always raises big money. They raised, I want to say, about $60,000 for Giving Tuesday last year, which was over double what they've done in the year before, which is really fun. The way the event works is I'm going to give you this calendar, and then we're going to spend some time just walking through it. And the nice thing is you can customize it for your organization. So if you already have something planned, I've had people say, oh gosh, we have an event in September, or we already have this planned in October. No worries. No worries at all. You can customize it. I want to see you be very equipped with a plan and a strategy and the how-to and the samples to go implement. So I just wanted to let you know about that resource. Tickets are available. You can grab them at getfullyfunded.com/venture. And we do have a very deep discount for you because you're here with me today. If you go on our website, tickets are $197 right now. We're going to cut that in half and give you $100 off because you're part of Venture 19. So you can grab that savings until the 7th. That's Friday, end of day Friday. You can get all the details and read more at getfullyfunded.com/venture. And Brianna, thank you for popping in. Brianna's been a part of the event for many years, and she can tell you what to expect and what you're going to get out of it because she's normally there. All right, hang on. Let me cough real quick, and then we're going to answer some questions.
Yes, feel free to add some more questions into the chat and we'll work through those. Or also, after Sandy answers Angie's question, feel free to unmute yourself and fire away.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. All right. Angie says, any suggestions for people who like to offer their ideas and strategies and flip them to monetary donations? If we're talking about board members or major donors, it's a delicate conversation because you never want to just tell somebody like, why do you think I have more time to implement what you got? when you have a plan, like we're talking about creating a calendar and put your asks and your other stuff, you can actually use a calendar as a deflection tool. So when you get somebody that pops up and says, "Oh, I have this great idea for you," you can say, "That's great. Here's my calendar. Here's the plan that I have. In order to do your really cool idea, I'll have to take something off of my plan." And they'll back right off. Or you can say, "My plan for this year is already full. I will put that idea on our ideas list to be considered for next year." So that's a real good way to deflect the good ideas. Flipping it into monetary is more about deflecting that idea and then saying, "Let's talk about what your favorite part of our organization is. Tell me what lights you up about the work we do." When you can get people telling you what their favorite thing is, now you can start to customize and ask for that person and get them moving in the direction of funding something that matters to them. And I'll tell you a quick story. I worked at Second Harvest Food Bank for many years here in Knoxville, and I had a donor that was a doctor, and he would normally give $5,000 at a time, a couple of times a year. And I'd put in my thank you letter, "Hey, if you'd ever like to come for a tour, please do. Let me know. I'm happy to set this up." And I didn't have many people reach out, but he did. And he said, "Oh, by the way, is it okay if I bring my wife?" I'm like, "Of course, please." So we got onto the tour, and I was talking about one of our kids' programs. Well, he literally stopped and looked at me and he started asking questions. Now, y'all, anytime a donor starts asking questions, this is a good thing because they're interested. People don't ask questions just to be polite, usually. They usually ask questions because they're curious, because they're interested. And then he asked me the magic question, and that is, "How much does it cost to run that program?" Well, being a good fundraiser, I knew, and so I told him it was 15,000 to run that one program for the year. And he reached in his pocket, pulled out his wallet, he handed me his credit card, and he said, "Go run it." And he dropped 15 grand and fully funded that program that day. Boom, just like that. Because he lasered in, because he something lit him up. So anytime you have an opportunity to talk to people, ask them, "What's your favorite thing about what our organization does?" And what that question is going to tell you is either they know and you're going to find out what their favorite thing is, or you're going to find out that they don't know enough about your organization to have a favorite thing. Now you know you've got more education to do. I would encourage you to practice asking that question because it's just fun. So, Angie, sorry I don't have a magic bullet of like, if you say this or that, that's going to help you flip people. Um, Really, we got to understand that donors are more like the goose that laid the golden egg, and we have to take really good care of them so that they will give and keep giving. So, we want to find out what their motivation is. That's when we can match up needs in our organization with what is on their heart.
Sandy, I like what you just said there, though. And I think
Absolutely.
an important part of that conversation was that you knew how much that program was going to cost,
Yep.
right? So, back to the point you made earlier, sometimes we don't know that stuff. We stay too general. We ask people to just give, random donations kind of thing. And
Yep.
I'm not saying there's never a place for that, maybe with some new givers and different things like that. But the big part of that story is you knew what you were trying to get done. You knew what it was going to cost and you were able to communicate that clearly. And
Yep.
that's why that donor was able to respond that specifically. So I love that.
Yep. You know the really cool thing about that, Jonathan? I and y'all, I've never had any training in this. I figured all this out the hard way. But my gut said stay in touch with him. So about every 6 weeks or so, I would send him a card, shoot him an email, and I'd say, "Hey, just want to let you know, here's what's going on with this program. This is really awesome. We're about to do this expansion or whatever." The next year, and it came time about the same time that he had given, I called him and I said, "Hey, how you doing? Everything good?" I said, "It's been about a year and it's time to sponsor this program again, and I wanted to give you first shot.
Mhm.
Do you want to sponsor this program?" And he said, "Is it still 15,000?" I said, "No, actually the costs have gone up because we're doing more." He said, "Well, how much is it?" I said, 25. He said, "Do you still have my credit card information?" It was that easy. That easy. And that one program, done. Fully funded. I did not have to worry about that. I could move on to funding other programs, which was awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, somebody else, unmute yourself and fire away as you're thinking about your question there. I just want to make another comment. Sandy, I love the slide that you showed where you talked about connecting three different times, 3-to-1 ratio on regular communication versus an ask.
Yep.
And I will just say this, everybody, and I know Sandy feels the same way. Those aren't just boxes to check. You really should feel that way, right? You should be genuinely grateful for partnership and people and their gifts. And so a natural outflow of that will be or should be non-ask communications that are thanking people and reporting on impact and valuing the relationship and that kind of thing. So think even about that. How do you feel about that? Are you genuinely grateful for people and gifts and all that God is providing through those folks? And if you are, I think you're going to fall into a natural schedule of a slide like this that Sandy has pulled back up.
Hmm. That is a fantastic point. You do want it to be genuine. And if you're like me, I can't create that stuff out of the air. I know there's other people that are real creative that way. But if I see another organization do something that warms my heart as a donor, now I've got an idea. So if you are not giving to other organizations, especially ones that are doing a great job, I highly recommend that you do because you will learn so much about what to do or what not to do. And I'm just curious, is there anybody here that would be willing to take donations from others? That's what I thought. Seriously, Brazil Sport Cares, you would learn a lot from. And if you're curious about others, I can give you a laundry list of organizations that do a great job. Just so you can watch what their newsletters look like, you'd learn a lot from that. All right, we did have another question, and this is the one, and I cannot remember what the woman said her name was, and I don't want to try to guess. But she says, we do have an auto thank you that goes out when someone donates. Would you recommend we get rid of that auto email and make it more personal or following up with a warmer email and an update? Auto thank yous serve a wonderful purpose. We are all conditioned now that when we purchase something online or we donate online, that there is an instant receipt. We all just expect that. What you want to do is warm up that piece. So whatever tool you're using to facilitate online donations, go dig into it, find where that is, and make it as warm and sincere and donor focused as possible. Because you want that automatic thing to make people feel good. Like giving is a very emotionally charged act. People give and they get an instant feel good out of it. If they go over to their email and there's something that says transaction receipt, man, that just pops the bubble of that feel good. Nobody wants to get an email that says transaction receipt. So warm it up. Look at the subject line. The subject line needs to say thank you in it somewhere. The actual email needs to look pretty. It needs to be from a person, not from the organization. It needs to say Dear Sandy, not Dear Donor 3492. Like personalize it, make it feel good. That one email can do a lot of heavy lifting for you if you craft it well. All right. So it
Okay.
just needs to be really warm and sincere.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's very helpful.
You are so welcome. And that's one of those, if you want to put that together and shoot me that email as a test and let me take a look, I'm happy to do that for you and let you know if I think it's warm enough.
Awesome.
How about that?
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Jonathan's going to send you guys all an email later with the slides and my contact info so you'll be able to reach out if you've got questions. All righty.
Excellent.
I'm sorry.
Couple more questions. Yeah, fire away.
Hi, my name is Shane. My wife and I are starting a nonprofit. We're in Arizona.
Cool.
It's a mobile splatter paint studio. So we have a for-profit that we're running as well, um, out of the same trailer, but we take the nonprofit side and we're trying to go to like retirement homes and like disenfranchised neighborhoods, stuff like that, and do the same action for free
Mm-hmm.
through our nonprofit, like bringing art to communities that can't afford it. And I'm just wondering where we're literally, we got the for-profit started. I built the trailer and now we're starting from the ground. Like we don't know where to find donors. We don't know where our starting point should be.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay. So what you want to do is an exercise that we call ideal donor profile. This is a marketing tactic where you're going to spend a little time and see if you can laser in on the demographic and psychographic information of somebody who would be an ideal donor. Okay? When you are just getting started, it's you. So you can look at you and your wife. If you have other friends that are like, oh, this is great, think about include them in this exercise too. If you can come up with 5 or 6 people, this will work. You're looking for commonality. What does everybody have in common? If everybody is Christian, write that down. If everybody cares about those who live in a disenfranchised community, write that down. If they're all about art and they think splatter paint is incredibly therapeutic, write that down. Because what you're going to get is a profile that helps you figure out where to go find more people just like them. Now, on a very practical, tactical piece, I would encourage you to get a good presentation together and go speak to every Rotary Club you can get in front of. Rotary tends to be a lot of people who are very community focused, and they meet every week, which means they have to have a program every week. And that's for everybody, not just Shane. Go out and speak.
Thank
You
you.
can look at churches, church groups. I have had great success with church groups in the past. The bigger churches tend to have like a women's group and a men's group and a seniors group and a singles group. Go speak to all of them. You got to have a good talk, and you want to have a way to pass around a sign up sheet or have a QR code or something where people can sign up to hear more about what you're doing. Don't tell them you want them to sign up for your newsletter. Nobody wants another newsletter. But invite them to sign up to hear more about what your organization is doing. You get them on your email list, and then you ask them who else they know that would care about the work you're doing. And that's how you're going to start to build a donor base.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, one more question. Sorry, we just partnered with Ability 360, which is like a gym. They're really huge nonprofit in and of themselves. They do like the everybody trains for the Paralympics here in Arizona. There, they do like wheelchair rugby, basketball. They have a huge facility, and we're doing an event there.
Cool.
Would it be beneficiary to advertise the nonprofit? Because we're going as Chaotic Canvas, which is our for-profit.
Mm-hmm.
But would it be advantageous to also give out information, and would it be appropriate to give out information for the nonprofit while we're already at somebody else's?
Check with the host,
Mhm.
and if they're okay with you handing out info on the nonprofit, absolutely, I would do it. Especially if you think those people might make good donors, because it's a demographic and psychographic match. So, not because you think, oh, everybody ought to give to this cause. Yeah, that's what I thought too when I was at the food bank. Everybody ought to care about hungry neighbors, but the truth is, not everybody does. People have their favorite charity, they have their favorite causes. So, if it's a demographic and psychographic match, absolutely hand out some info. Then what you want to do is on that info have something about this is what we do and here's how you can help. And give them 2 or 3 ways to get involved. That could be volunteering, that could be making a donation, that could be something else.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm
Yeah,
just curious, did anybody else get help out of that from him asking that question? Did others get an idea?
yeah, those are great questions for sure.
I'm going to guess that they did.
Well, awesome, everybody. Well, listen, if you still have some questions or things to talk about, like Sandy said, I am going to share her contact info. You can also reach back out to me at Venture19. Happy to continue the conversation, and our team would love to just continue to help you in any way we can. Sandy, so glad you shared about the retreat. Really encourage all of you to look into that. I've heard great things about it, and we wanted to make sure that Sandy took a few minutes to share a little bit about that today, and she's offering an extremely generous discount. So I would say take advantage of that because I think it's going to be a great time together. Sandy, congratulations! We've never had anybody teach an online class while petting their cat right in front of them. And I love it. So you're the first, and I love that you guys sort of taught this session together.
Yeah, well, Taffy has to approve of everything I do, so there's that.
Sandy, thank you so much for being with us today. It's just such a pleasure to spend more time with you and learn more about your great work at Get Fully Funded. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. We'll send out the PowerPoint and again, additional information. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I want to pray for us, and then we'll let you go. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for just this time together. God, I thank you for Sandy and the calling that's on her life and the great work that she's doing and the way that you're working through her to bless and encourage and strengthen so many other groups out there. Father, thank you for all of this information, and just continue to clarify it for us. As Sandy mentioned earlier, help us to just think through maybe that one step or those two steps that we need to take as a result of everything we've heard today. And just give us the strength and the courage to take those steps and to move forward. Thank you again, Lord, for just all these great leaders. Continue to bless them in special ways and continue to use them in incredible life changing ways. Thank you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.